It was supposed to be just another talk show. The crowd was electric. Lights shimmered. The host cracked jokes, teasing clips from blockbuster movies. But everyone was here for one reason: Tom Cruise. He walked onto the stage in that familiar way, smiling, confident, charismatic. Hollywood's eternal action man. The audience erupted in applause as he waved and gave his signature nod. The host greeted him with a grin. "Tom Cruise, the legend. Man, you just keep flying higher and higher." Laughter, applause. They bantered about stunts, his next film, even joked about how he looks younger every year. But behind the charm, behind the polished smile, there was something distant in Tom's eyes, something silent. And halfway through the show, everything changed. The host leaned forward, playfully mysterious. "Tom, we've got a surprise guest for you tonight. Live, from a place very far from here." Tom raised an eyebrow. A surprise guest? The studio lights dimmed. The giant screen behind them flickered. A flag appeared, red, green, and gold, with a shining yellow star. Confused murmurs rippled through the crowd. The host leaned closer. "Ladies and gentlemen, joining us live from Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso, the president of the transition government, Ibrahim Traoré." Tom blinked. The screen sharpened, revealing a man in a plain olive shirt. Calm eyes. A soft smile. He spoke in clear, lightly accented English. "Good evening, Mr. Cruise. I hope you'll forgive this intrusion. My name is Ibrahim Traoré." The studio fell silent. Tom sat up slowly, confused but intrigued. "I wanted to speak to you not as a president," Ibrahim continued, "but as a man and as a boy who once dreamed. When I was 12, Ibrahim began. I lived in a village where nights were loud with crickets and days were long with sun. We had no theater, no TV. But one night, someone brought a small projector and an old dust-covered generator to our school courtyard. It was the first movie I ever saw in my life." Tom leaned forward, heart pounding. The movie was Top Gun. The crowd gasped softly. Ibrahim smiled. "You flew across the screen like lightning. You stood for courage, for loyalty, for daring to rise above fear. I did not understand all the words, but I understood you. And I said to myself that night, one day I will fly too. Not a jet, but something higher." Tom's hand slowly rose to his lips. His eyes shimmered. "I wanted you to know," Ibrahim said, "that in a small village under African skies, a barefoot boy saw you and believed he could be more." A tear slipped from Tom's eye. "Mr. Cruise," Ibrahim continued gently, "you helped me take flight long before I wore a uniform, before I led, before I fought for my people. I stood tall, because I saw what flight looked like, not in a jet, but in the soul." The studio was completely silent. Even the cameras dared not hum. Tom's voice cracked. "You're telling me that movie inspired a future president. No, sir, Ibrahim said, smiling softly. It inspired a boy who never gave up, and that boy became a man who refused to kneel to fear. Tom wiped his face. Thank you, Mr. President, truly. And thank you, Mr. Cruz, Ibrahim replied. Now, I would like to invite you to come to Burkina Faso, to meet the woman who raised me, who showed me how to fly with no wings. A woman, I believe, you would be honored to know. Tom's jaw trembled. She still lives in the same village, still sweeps the same courtyard, still watches the stars and believes in dreams. Her name is Mama Kadi. And then, with the quiet dignity only true leaders carry, Ibrahim said, "Come meet the mother who taught a president how to soar." The screen went black. Tom buried his face in his hands, not from shame or sadness, but from a truth so powerful it broke the soundproof walls of celebrity. The crowd stood. Not a cheer, a standing silence. But Tom made no statements. He took the next flight to Burkina Faso. As the plane descended over Ouagadougou, the skies seemed quieter, deeper, like they remembered the barefoot boy who once looked up and whispered dreams to them. Waiting on the tarmac was a single black SUV, and beside it, President Ibrahim Traoré. No formal attire, no security parade, just two hands in his pockets. A man. Tom stepped off the plane slowly. Their eyes met. No one spoke. Then Ibrahim smiled, walked forward, and they embraced. Not as icon and leader, but as two men whose lives had crossed over oceans and time. "You came," Ibrahim whispered. Tom nodded, voice low. "I didn't come as an actor. I came as someone who needed to remember why stories matter." They drove in silence, through roads dusted with red earth, past children playing barefoot, shouting greetings in French and Moray. Markets bustled, goats wandered, and life bloomed from the clay. Tom looked out the window, eyes full of questions he didn't know how to ask. "We're going to my first home," Ibrahim said softly. They arrived at a small village, huts made of baked mud, thatched roofs, trees swaying in the wind like storytellers. Children chased the SUV, laughing. They stopped outside a modest hut. A small woman, aged but upright, swept a clay courtyard. Ibrahim stepped out. "Mama," he called. The broom froze. She turned slowly. Her eyes blinked. "Ibrahim?" He ran to her and dropped to his knees, arms around her waist. She held his face. "My little lion, you came back." Then she noticed the man standing behind. Her hands trembled. You are the flying man." Tom stepped forward, eyes flooded. He knelt beside her, took her hand. "No, ma'am. You're the one who taught him to fly." She looked at Tom the way a grandmother looks at a long-lost son, not with awe, but with warmth. "I saw you once," she said, her accent lilting. "On the wall of his school, a paper poster. Ibrahim would look at it every day and whisper, 'That's my brother in the sky.'" Tom blinked away tears. Ibrahim smiled. "She would let me pretend I was a pilot. She tied a rag around my neck and called it a captain's scarf. Mama Kadi chuckled. I let him climb the mango tree and shout orders. He broke his arm once doing that. Tom laughed through misty eyes. They sat under a neem tree, drinking sweet tea in tin cups. The breeze carried smells of earth and firewood, and silence, not the kind that asks for conversation, but the kind that holds it sacred. I don't know why I'm here, Tom said quietly. Mama Kadi touched his hand. You're here because something in you was still listening. That afternoon, they visited her home. It was simple. Clay walls, mats on the floor, no doors. But it felt like a cathedral. Photos lined one wall. Young Ibrahim with dirt on his cheeks, smiling wide. A medal from school. A torn page from a French reader book. In the corner, a metal trunk. Ibrahim opened it. Inside was a folded white rag with faded stitching. She kept it, he whispered. Tom picked it up. It was the old pilot's scarf, carefully preserved. I never had much, Mama Kadi said. But I had hope, and I gave it to him every day. Ibrahim looked down, and it was enough, more than enough. That night they sat under stars. Tom looked at the moonlight over the trees. I've done a lot of stunts, he said. Jumped from planes, climbed cliffs. But I've never felt the way I do here. Ibrahim nodded. This place holds truth, quiet truth. Then Tom turned, serious. Let me help build something. Not just a donation. A place. A sanctuary. Ibrahim looked up. A place for what? Tom stared into the fire. For dreamers who forgot how to dream. For kids with bare feet and full hearts. For the next boy staring at a movie screen under the stars. Silence. Then Mama Kadi, listening nearby, whispered, Then name it after the sky. Tom nodded. We'll call it the Horizon Project. News spread fast. The headline exploded. Tom Cruise, an African president, launched Dream Academy in Burkina Faso. But it wasn't about fame. They refused red carpets. Instead, they released a short video, raw, unedited. Tom spoke into the camera. I met a president who was once a barefoot dreamer. I met the woman who taught him how to fly. And now, I want to help her teach the world. Mama Kadi simply said, No child is too small for the sky. Within 24 hours, over 80 million views. People sent letters from Tokyo, Sao Paulo, Johannesburg, Kansas. One boy wrote, I don't have a bed, but now I have a dream. Thank you, Mama. 3 days later, Tom prepared to leave. But Mama Kadi asked to speak with him alone. In her small room, she took his hand. I won't live long, she said, smiling peacefully. But you can carry my voice further than I ever could. Tom shook his head, emotional. You already changed the world, he whispered. She reached into a drawer, pulled out a small, wrapped bundle. It was a stone, painted with a child's drawing, wings and a sun. Ibrahim made this when he was 9, she said. He said, Mama, one day this stone will fly. Tom held it to his chest. I'll take it with me. to every mountain, every sky. And then, with a soft breath, she closed her eyes. Not gone, just resting. A month later, the first brick of the Horizon Academy was laid. Mama Kadi's face was carved above the gate, not in marble, but in wood. Warm, human. Tom returned for the dedication. No speech. Just a small boy handed him a drawing. A jet made of trees flying over Africa. He hung it in his home. Years later, when asked about his greatest role, Tom Cruise said, "It wasn't Maverick. It wasn't Ethan Hunt. It was being a student of a woman who swept courtyards and raised presidents." The stone still sat on his desk. The scarf hung in the school. And the horizon? It stretched further than any of them could see.